If you just want to see what this thing can actually do for someone who cooks dinner and doesn't want to think so hard about what's for dinner, this video is for you. Look, I cook 99% of the meals in the house, I do all the grocery shopping, and lately I've been using ChatGPT and other AI tools like it to occasionally help in the kitchen. Not to replace me, but to make decisions easier, faster, and sometimes more fun. OpenAI recently released a report analyzing 1.1 million conversations, and only 0.9% of them were about cooking or recipes. That's under 10,000 chats out of a million. For something that we do every day, cook, eat, plan meals, that number felt shockingly low. And I recently heard that they have 800 million active daily users, so it felt really low. And maybe nobody wants to talk about it or admit it, I don't know. But here I thought it was worth talking about. And if you're thinking, AI sucks, or it's a bubble, or why would I use that? I get it. Every company and their mother is telling everyone to get on the AI train, and I acknowledge there are really big macro issues at the heart of this. But if you're just curious about what it can actually do for a regular person or how to use it better, keep watching. I'm going to show you how to use ChatGPT, or really any model like Claude, which is great for writing, or Gemini, which is great for deep research, in the kitchen. If you want to get a little more comfortable using these tools in your everyday life, that's, I don't know, practical or pragmatic, this video is for you. After all, everybody eats food. Now this video is in 3 parts. In part 1, I'll share 7 simple practical ways that you can use ChatGPT. In part 2, I'll walk you through a prompt framework. Yes, it's an acronym because AI people love acronyms. But even if you skip the acronym, I will give you the basics of what makes a good prompt, because good prompts get you good answers. And in part 3, I will talk about AI more broadly. It's a powerful, sometimes overwhelming technology. People love it, people hate it. And honestly, there is some fear that is valid. So I want to close by talking about one of the most important things I've learned from using these tools, especially in the kitchen, and how to think critically about what they can and cannot do. Part 1, 7 practical ways to use ChatGPT. Number 1, ask it anything like Google, but in conversation. It seems obvious to use it to get answers, but you can also get the context behind them. You can follow up and ask for clarification or alternatives. For example, how long do roasted carrots take at 400 degrees Fahrenheit? Or something simple like, is it okay to use parchment paper in a cast iron skillet? Or lastly, hey, give me 3 ways to saute vegetables with no oil. ChatGPT doesn't just tell you what to do, it tells you why something may or may not work. Number 2, upload a photo of your fridge or pantry. Seriously, snap a few photos, upload them, and say, what meals can I make with this? It'll identify ingredients and suggest recipes, or flag what staples you're missing. It's great when your brain is fried and you need dinner ideas fast. Number 3, okay, forget the photos. You bought groceries, now type in a few of those ingredients like sweet potatoes, ground turkey, or frozen spinach, or a can of tuna, a potato, pasta, and potato chips, like you were on an episode of Chopped, and then ask it to give you a few dinner ideas. If you want something more specific, say, what can I make with those ingredients in the style of Bobby Flay? Or ask it to give you links to 3 highly rated recipes for you to compare. Personally, when my son and I came home from Underwood Farms after picking vegetables, we got cauliflower, beets, zucchinis, and raspberries, and my son wanted to use them all for dinner. So I just asked ChatGPT, and it suggested how best to prep the roasted root salad, which vegetables I could add to complement the salad, and I asked it to give me 3 options for dressings like the raspberry balsamic vinaigrette, and I even asked it to link to a highly rated recipe so I could use that. Number 4, if you find something you like online, why not paste the recipe and ask, look, can I swap the cream for Greek yogurt? Or what's a cilantro substitute? Because I absolutely hate cilantro. Or how do you make this dairy or gluten-free? It will guide you through safe substitutions Or you can ask it to give you links to blogs that have already made those swaps. And we'll talk more about why following up matters in part 3. Number 5, paste in a few recipes or a weekly meal plan and say, make me a grocery list sorted by section: frozen, dairy, produce, dry goods, etc. You can even ask it to base your list on meals with overlapping ingredients so that nothing goes to waste. That way, if you buy green onions for one recipe, you use it throughout the week and you don't let it rot in your fridge. Here's a bonus tip. Take a photo of your local grocery flyers and then ask it which stores you should go to for the best deals. Number 6, use it like a tutor. If a recipe says deglaze the pan and you don't know what that means, just ask. Explain deglazing like I'm 10 years old. That way you can go even deeper. Hey, like, when shouldn't I deglaze a pan? Or after watching a YouTube video, ask, why do they soak chicken in buttermilk? AI can help you move from blindly following steps to actually understanding what's happening in the pan. Number 7, you forgot to soften the butter while making cookies, or you've used baking soda instead of baking powder. You realize that your eggs are still in the fridge and you need them at room temperature. ChatGPT is like texting your best cooking friend, the one that replies right away. It can troubleshoot in real time and keep your dinner on track. If you have something go wrong, you can always ask it what to do with that wonky bread or that overly salty soup or that cake that might end up on a cake fails subreddit. Ask it to give you a suggestion that is not cake pops. If you want a bonus, you can train it to know your tastes. I know that sounds spooky, but it learns from your previous requests. You can say, look, I really like that lemony chicken that you suggested last time. Can you offer more like that? Or please avoid cumin and fennel in future recipes. Over time, it starts remembering what you like and don't. And this is a little more advanced. People use AI with automation. I thought I would briefly mention this, but you can use tools like Zapier, Make.com, or N8N to connect ChatGPT with other apps like Google Docs and Gmail. Now, this isn't free, but you could automatically pull in the week's top food trends, have it generate a grocery list based on that, or recipes that you've saved in a spreadsheet, and then email it to yourself. It can be fairly complicated to set up, and it's outside of the scope of this video, but that's probably overkill for most home cooks, but I thought I'd at least mention it. Me personally, I asked ChatGPT to send me a monthly list of upcoming food trends. I can't keep track of what's new or interesting all the time, and I gave ChatGPT a task to scour social media, forums, and news sources on interesting food ideas. In the summer, it told me about cured lemons, so I checked out a few blogs, and I'm excited to use them soon. Then there was like fiber maxing and stretchy yogurt or eggnog ice cream for the holidays. Look, not all trends are interesting to me, but it helps me stay on top of things and keeps the creativity flowing. Part 2, AI and acronyms. Now here's the thing. All those examples I just gave you, they work and they all kind of blend into each other. You ask a simple question, you get a basic answer. But if you really want good answers, the kind that actually match your cooking style and your family's needs, you gotta give ChatGPT a little structure. You've heard this before, you gotta give it a good prompt. And for that, I present to you a series of acronyms that will make your head spin. Here are 2 graphics from people in the field sharing several of these acronyms like RAIN, ROSE, APE, CARE, COAST, TRACE, ROSES, which is just rose on the other graphic, but that guy added another S. Now, in all seriousness, these can be very helpful in certain instances and industries depending on what you need and how you need it. I mean, that's the whole point of a prompt. But since this isn't a prompting tutorial, I'm gonna say that what I've been using is very close to the RISE prompt, if you're familiar with that, and that stands for role, input, steps, and expectations. Not exactly kitchen specific, but I find it works with a little of my own refinement. Since this is a food channel, and to show you how easy it is to make an acronym, I called mine the M.I.S.E method, like on mise en place. Get it? Setting and getting all your ingredients set up before you cook. But for prompting, you see what I did there? I'm sorry. Okay, look, don't worry if you aren't into remembering an acronym. I'll explain the prompt in simpler terms afterwards. First up is M for mentor, just like R is for role. Instead of treating ChatGPT like a search box, ask it to take on a persona, the who. The word I typically use is expert. You can say, I need an expert who. I need an expert who can make family-friendly dinners that my kids will eat. I need a nutrition and weight loss expert with special knowledge in making high-protein meals. You are centering the model in a certain area. The best analogy I could think of was that old Trivia Pursuit game. You can have people ask you trivia questions, but it was always a little easier when you knew the category you were going to answer from. This is telling the LLM which category you want it to start thinking from. You can even channel a celebrity chef or an actual expert in the field. I want you to be like Gordon Ramsay. Talk to me like a sailor that uses words like Gordon Ramsay on one of his shows, but can tell me how to make a fancy weekend brunch for 6 guests this weekend. That immediately lets the LLM know specifically what kind of information you will need from it. Next is the letter I for input or ingredients. This is where you tell what you've got or what you want to use or make. List your ingredients, mention your tools, say how much time you have. The more specific the input, the more tailored the recipe or response it can give back. That follows up with S for specs or steps. This is where you give it more detail outside the list of ingredients. You can include what equipment you have and want to use, specifics that you may have like what intolerances you have and what you want to avoid, or other constraints. Do you want a 5-step recipe or a 1-pot meal or something you can make in less than 30 minutes? Do you want it to be kid-friendly or just not spicy, gluten-free, dairy-free? Do you want it to be under 600 calories? Are you wanting it to be a vegetarian meal? Here, you can put as much information you want so it can use that information. Use regular language. You want influences from personalities like Guy Fieri or Yotam Ottolenghi? You tell it what you have. You say, I want an Ottolenghi-style Mediterranean influence flavor, but I don't want to use pomegranate syrup. Or, I want a greasy spoon-style lunch sandwich that isn't greasy. What should I buy at the grocery store? And lastly, the final letter is E for elicit confirmation by ChatGPT. This is something I picked up from Sabrina Romanov. She gives really great AI information. Now, instead of letting it guess, ask it to double check before it gives you an answer. I'll literally write, ask me any questions you have so that you're 95% confident that you can achieve the task. That forces the model to clarify and you avoid wasted answers. I do this 100% of the time when using this method and any framework. So, putting it all together, a good prompt might sound like, I need an expert in Chinese food who uses traditional Chinese techniques. Think Stephen Yan from Canada's Walk with Yan. I've got chicken thighs, rice and broccoli, sesame oil, salt and sugar. I want a 30 to 40 minute recipe max that uses one pan preferably. I don't want to use pork as a protein, but I'm open to other options. I don't have a wok. Tell me what ingredients I would need to buy. I want it to be authentic enough, but I don't want to spend a fortune stocking up on ingredients I won't use often. Ask me any questions that you may have so that you're 95% confident you can accomplish the task. Oh, and if you push out a recipe, can you share a link or reference the website that you got it from so I can check it out? Thank you. See, that's a world apart from just saying Chinese chicken and rice recipe. Plus, you've started a conversation with the chat and you can clarify what you want and need. And again, don't be afraid to ask for links to recipes that have been shared. Verification helps. And yes, I use natural sounding sentences like I'm talking to it because I don't want you to feel restricted in how you use ChatGPT. It is a robot, but you are not a robot. And the best part is, you don't actually need to remember the acronym. It's just there to help you to see the pieces that matter. But start with who, you need it to be, an expert in the field. Then tell it what you want, be specific. Then tell it what you have or what you can and cannot do, what you want and do not want. And lastly, get it to ask you questions. Part 3, guardrails and guidance. Now, before we wrap up, I want to talk about some guardrails and things to keep in mind when you're using AI in the kitchen or really anywhere. This is really important to me, so please stick around. I could have just done a top 7 ways video, but I really wanted to share with you some of the things that I've been thinking about and experiencing with this topic. First, ChatGPT and other models are extremely validating to a fault. It's super flattering talking to someone that tells you you're really thinking this through or what a brilliant idea. Check yourself before you wreck yourself. The New York Times recently ran a story and a feature on The Daily about a man who chatted with ChatGPT for 300 hours and became convinced that he had made a world-changing mathematical breakthrough. He even asked the bot dozens of times if he might be delusional, and each time it reassured him, not at all. That's a problem. These tools are trained to be agreeable. They flatter you. They echo back what you want to hear, and sometimes they can go too far. Now, most of us aren't trying to reinvent math in the kitchen, but it's still important. If you ask, does this substitution make sense? And ChatGPT confidently says yes, that does not guarantee it will taste good or even work in practice. That's why I say AI is an assistant, not a chef. And this also touches on AI hallucinations. I recently read that the new ChatGPT model is incorrect about 16% of the time. Take that for what it's worth. I haven't experienced that myself, but again, I do a lot of verifying and I've done a lot of reading on cooking and I have cooking experience. I want to stress that you really do need to continuously learn about cooking and verify the things that you are reading. Don't be afraid to Google it and click on a solid source to read up on it. I remember I was learning how to bake and my brother in Toronto had made bread quite a bit. Now, my oven has a proofing setting on it that works at a temperature around 100 degrees Fahrenheit. And I Googled proofing temperatures and Gemini AI at the top told me that proofing should be done at much lower temperatures at 75 or 80 degrees Fahrenheit. So I called my brother to have a conversation on what his experience is with proofing, and he told me it's safe to use my oven's proofing setting and not use the AI. And it worked well. All I'm trying to say is that it still takes experimentation and verification, learning and doing. Second, and in all seriousness, we have to acknowledge the broader risks. AI is upending whole industries, reducing teams of dozens to just a handful of people working with a model. Much of that profit seen by AI right now is reducing headcount. And in the workplace, that work by AI isn't error-free, and I don't have much sympathy for lawyers that use it where it cites fake cases, but there are real risks for vulnerable people, especially teens, even beyond simple validation of feelings and ideas. You've probably heard stories of people forming relationships with chatbots or getting dangerous advice in private chats. I don't need to go into detail, but it's enough to say that these tools can cross lines that we don't expect, and they still need better guardrails for our kids. And to be honest, for ourselves. I like using it in the kitchen occasionally, and I've never encountered it giving me advice that will put me, my family, or my food in danger. But more and more people are turning to it for marriage and relationship advice and mental health advice. And while I use it to see what's out there, I personally will use it as a first step, and from there, read published books on the topic or linking to a verifiable and trustworthy source online. I really thought it was important to mention that. I guess my final thought on these LLMs like Gemini or Claude or ChatGPT are, they're here to help, but really not replace the real work it takes to get better in the kitchen. And yes, even in life. Sure, it can help make a grocery list, suggest a recipe or a substitution, but it can't really cook. It can't taste, it's never tasted. I've been working on this video idea and script for a few months already, but people think about AI in writing, recipes, and food a lot. Look, back in September, there's a food blogger, Justine Doiron, on her Substack, and she recently shared her inner thoughts on AI and food by saying, quote, AI can't eat. AI can't tell you how fennel tastes, really tastes, when it's finely shredded versus when it's thickly quartered and roasted until charred. It can show you how to make a pot pie by stealing from the top 852 published pot pie recipes on the internet, but it will never made it. I know AI will make a lot of progress in the next years, but I can confidently tell you it will never taste. And while I adore Justine's love of fennel, her words sum up what I wanted to say. While some of the food space might outright reject the idea of AI, or some have quietly embraced it without admitting to it, I believe there is a middle ground. I thought this video might open up the conversation because it's here. Look, this is what I wrote a while back. Cooking, or being in the kitchen with food, is more than words on a screen. It's a full body sport sometimes that involves feeling, smelling, seeing, hearing the sounds food makes as you cook, and then tasting it as you go and enjoying it at the end. A computer cannot do that. It can only tell you how to bake a cookie, but it will never bite into one. Sorry, Justine, I just like cookies more than fennel. But this is all to say that people like Justine are necessary because they make the food, test it, and taste it. I make the food, I taste it and test it. For me, I am playing around with recipes I see online and experimenting with combining ideas or asking questions and testing them out. And so should you. I wanted to do a full video on how amazing Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat was, the book by Samin Nosrat. I read it back in March or April of 2020, and maybe it was a time and place, but I felt like it really did something for me, like, you know, when Neo saw those green lines in the movie The Matrix. But I'll just say it really opened my eyes to these magic elements in cooking, and it gave me a greater understanding and appreciation when reading her book. I mean, same goes for the flavor equation, or Cookwise, or the Science of Good Cooking, or even the Food Lab. That last one was okay. But you gotta sit with that information. You gotta let it envelop you. You gotta marinate in the words of Nosrat, or Lopez, or Shirley Corer, or Sola Elawali. Cooking is about trying and learning all the time. That's why I said ChatGPT and AI is a helper or an assistant, not a chef or a cook. But it can give you answers, and it can direct you to explore and learn more. But you still need to do it, make it, try it. I like using ChatGPT, but I still read cookbooks, recipes, enjoy reading about food. You know how people skip over the SEO stories about the blogger's grandma? I used to do that, but I find myself reading them a bit more often because I want to know more about what works and why. It's why I love taking out recipe books from the library and reading what they have to say about the recipe, than just reading the recipe and trying to make it. You find out that some nuts have more oils than others, or how funny dough can feel and act at different hydration levels, or how good real buttermilk is over that made up BS that people keep telling you to take milk and just add vinegar or lemon. Like, what the actual? My conclusion is this: AI is here and it's powerful. It's like having a really excited kitchen assistant at your side, one that can look things up, plan things out, and help you avoid waste. But it's still only a tool. It doesn't replace the joy, the trial and error, the learning that comes from actual cooking. It's like having a computer in Excel. You'd never go back to paper ledgers by hand, but you still need an accountant who knows what they're doing. We're in scary, changing, and wild times, in and out of the kitchen. And the way forward is not to ignore it, not to fear it, but to learn how to use it. I look forward to your comments. Thanks for watching.